Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're really digging into something I think everyone feels sometimes. That sense of being completely stuck.
Yeah.
Like you're waiting for some huge dramatic moment,
Yeah.
flashing sign, the booming voice saying, choose now.
And that's the trap, isn't it? We expect life changes to be loud, obvious, but, well, the source material we looked at suggests the real turning points they rarely shout.
Okay.
They're more like, well, the feeling of a Tuesday morning, or that smell of coffee that's been sitting out a bit too long. Mundane.
That really flips the script on how we usually think about change. We wait for a crisis, but if the pivots are, hidden, how do you even spot them?
It starts with perception. That's the absolute core of the Gestalt idea we're exploring. See, perception isn't passive. It's not like your eyes are just cameras recording everything.
Right.
No, your mind is an active sculptor. It's constantly carving out meaning from this massive flow of information around us. It picks a figure, something to focus on, something that stands out.
Like the urgent email, the deadline, the argument you're having right now.
Exactly, that's the figure. And it carves that out from the ground, which is basically everything else. All the background noise, the stuff you don't know.
And millions of possibilities just humming in the background.
Precisely. And here's the really surprising part, the twist. The decisions that change your life the most. They often don't look like decisions when they happen.
What do they look like then?
They look like distractions, delays, things you forgot to do, or maybe just something you dismissed as, not a big deal right now. We walk right past them.
Why?
Because our perception is trained, fundamentally trained, to listen to the scream, the urgent thing, and ignore the whisper.
So this is what we're calling perceptual neglect. Our focus, which is usually a strength, actually makes us blind to these quieter, but maybe more essential potentials.
Think about that moment. We've all done it. Autopilot, scrolling on your phone late at night, you're tired.
Yep, mindlessly flicking.
And you scroll past, say, a job posting. Maybe you've seen it before. A company you kind of admire. And you pause. Just half a second. And a thought flickers. Maybe I should apply. And then thumb keeps moving. Next post, you don't apply, you look at memes instead.
Wow. Okay, and then months later, you're still feeling stuck, wondering why nothing's changing. But that pause, that was it.
That little flicker of maybe was the crossroads. You didn't fail to act on a big decision. You failed to perceive that tiny moment as a decision point.
That's subtle.
It is. And this is how this silent architecture of fate, as the source put it, gets built. Not on the grand gestures we anticipate, but on these countless tiny failures to see the significance in the small act, the small pause.
So these crossroads are camouflaged. What else do they look like day to day?
Well, they often feel like avoidance, honestly, like swallowing that apology because, confrontation feels awful right now.
Or saying yes to another obligation when you're screaming no inside just to keep the peace.
Exactly. Or not drawing that boundary with someone because you're worried about their reaction. Or staying silent in that meeting, again, because you fear looking stupid.
These aren't just things we didn't do.
No, they're active choices. We're selecting immediate comfort or avoiding immediate discomfort over what might be needed for, say, long-term alignment or growth. It's a perceptual choice, prioritizing the immediate feeling.
It makes me think of that Kierkegaard idea. We understand life backward, looking back and thinking, how on earth did I end up here?
Right, but Gestalt gives us the why. We live life forward, but we live it forward perceiving selectively. We're constantly highlighting what feels urgent, not necessarily what's essential or holds potential.
So we're great historians of our past choices.
Brilliant historians, but terrible real-time reporters of what's actually in our perceptual field right now.
Let's go back to that visual field idea. The things that grab you, the stop sign, the pinging phone, the kid crying, those are clearly figures.
Undeniably figures. But the person who could change your career trajectory might be standing right behind you buying coffee, totally lost in the ground because you're absorbed by the urgent text on your screen.
So the crossroads isn't the place, it's a shift.
It's a shift in perception. It's when something from the background suddenly snaps into focus and becomes the figure. And that's why, weirdly, the really life-altering decisions often seem to happen when we're not consciously deciding.
When we're distracted, tired, avoiding something.
Yes. Because in those moments, your conscious analytical mind hasn't flagged the issue as important, engage frontal cortex.
Right?
So because it's still background noise, it doesn't get that high-level processing. It triggers the default pathways, autopilot, habit.
So we don't consciously decide to give up on a dream project.
We just stop opening the file or stop picking up the guitar. We don't decide to stay stuck in a job we dislike.
We just never quite get around to updating the resume.
Exactly. These are failures of perception, failing to see the potential figure emerging much more than they are failures of raw willpower.
And you could argue modern life almost conspires against us here. Everything is yelling for attention notifications, infinite scrolls, emails 200/7.
It absolutely does. It flattens the contrast. It numbs the tension. You need that contrast, that tension, for a figure to really pop out from the ground.
If everything's shouting, nothing stands out.
Precisely. If you have 50 urgent emails, are any of them truly figure? Or is it just overwhelming ground? We end up looking for drama because we think drama equals significance.
But the real change might be a whisper.
Often is. A whisper we're too overloaded or distracted to hear. The digital world keeps throwing potential figures at us, but without enough perceived tension or importance, none get the weight needed to demand real cognitive engagement.
That clicks. We're scanning for lightning bolts and missing the slow, steady pressure building up. Which brings us to this idea of frozen decisions. What does that mean for someone listening right now?
Okay, look around you right now. What objects in your immediate environment are sort of sitting there on the edge of a decision you've been avoiding?
Like that pile of papers I need to sort? The running shoes by the door I haven't worn?
Could be. Or that unread message from someone you know you need to have a difficult conversation with. Or the book you bought 6 months ago, the one you know has insights for that career change you keep talking about.
They're not just things.
They are absolutely not just things. They are physical markers of unperceived crossroads. They're sitting in your perceptual field, loaded with potential meaning, but that meaning hasn't been organized yet. They represent mental avoidance made visible.
Think about that story of Daniel the writer. He was miserable in finance, wanted out for years, always waiting for the perfect moment, the right amount of savings.
Right, waiting for the big, loud decision moment. But it didn't come like that.
No. What happened?
One day, just a regular Tuesday, he's at his desk, maybe on his lunch break, and he sees his notebook. It had been sitting there for ages, just part of the desk clutter background. And he just opened it and wrote one sentence. That was it. He didn't consciously decide to become a writer in that moment. He just started writing.
The decision happened when the notebook shifted from ground to figure.
Exactly. It wasn't about finding more motivation. It was about a fundamental perceptual reorganization. He stopped waiting and allowed the action, however small, to emerge.
Okay, we need to unpack this Gestalt idea of closure and completion a bit more. Because that unopened notebook, that unwritten sentence, it's like an unfinished Gestalt, right? And it creates noise.
Absolutely. It generates background static, that feeling of low-grade anxiety, that vague dread, that sense that something's not quite right.
That's the unfinished business calling out.
It's your system craving closure. We are wired to complete patterns. When a gestalt is left hanging, a thought half-finished, an action incomplete, it creates tension in the field. The core issue often isn't that the decision itself is so complex. It's that the gestalt of the situation, the pattern, hasn't been allowed to fully form and demand resolution.
So we wait for clarity before acting.
But clarity doesn't come before. Clarity emerges through the act of completing the gestalt. The field needs to crystallize, and often that happens through taking the next small step, not through more thinking.
Wow, that turns things on their head. We think clarity enables action, but maybe action enables clarity.
Often, yes. And this ties into another concept, isomorphism. The idea that your inner state and your outer environment tend to mirror each other.
That's so.
That feeling of inner tension, of being mentally overwhelmed or stuck. Look around. It's often reflected physically. The clutter on your desk, the 50 browser tabs open, the unread books piling up, the difficult calls you keep putting off.
So that messy drawer isn't just a messy drawer.
It's a physical echo of the mental or emotional mess you're avoiding dealing with.
So tidying up your physical space, finishing those small external tasks, they can actually help reorganize your internal state. It's not just about procrastination.
It's absolutely not just procrastination. Completing those outer gestalts, cleaning the desk, answering the email, putting the shoes away, it reduces the psychic tax they impose, it clears the outer field, which through isomorphism helps the inner field organize. It allows the real figure you need to address to finally emerge from the background noise.
Okay, this feels like we're building to something crucial. The material suggested a really profound pivot here. What if? What if making a decision isn't about choosing something new, but about finally acknowledging where you already are, about completing the gestalt of standing still?
That's the mind bender, isn't it? We agonize, feeling indecisive. But every single day you don't take the new action, you are actively choosing the current state.
Every day I don't send that email, I'm choosing silence.
Yes, every day you stay in the job you dislike, you are choosing stagnation, or perhaps choosing the performance of being okay with it. You're not actually indecisive at all. You might be in deep denial about the choices you're already making, minute by minute.
You're pretending the situation is neutral, but it's alive with these incomplete patterns screaming for attention.
Exactly. It's screaming with incompletions.
That feels demanding, almost exhausting. If we're always choosing, always moving, even in stillness, how do we cope?
It's only exhausting if you're fighting the reality of where you are. The relief comes not from forcing a solution, but from a shift in perception. Think about those optical illusions like the Dalmatian picture.
Right, the black and white splotches.
Nothing physically changes in the image, it's just splotches. But then suddenly your perception shifts, reorganizes, and boom, there's the Dalmatian. You didn't solve the splotches, you just saw them differently.
So we need to stop trying to wrestle the problem into submission and just see the pattern differently, see the Dalmatian in our own situation.
Yes. See the choice you're already making. Transformation often begins right there, with the simple cessation of resistance. Stopping the pretense. The big decision that changes everything isn't always a dramatic leap. Sometimes it's just an act of recognition.
Recognizing you already left the old path mentally, even if your body hasn't caught up yet.
Precisely. Think about leaving a bad relationship or a toxic job. The actual decision probably wasn't the day you packed your bags or gave notice. It was likely that much earlier moment when you finally stopped believing your own excuses for staying.
When you stopped calling fear being practical or putting things off being patient.
Exactly. Seeing the field clearly for what it is, including your own role in maintaining it. When the figure emerges fully, the reality of the situation action often becomes, well, almost inevitable. The field itself demands resolution.
So the message isn't try harder to decide.
No, it's more like, stop trying to decide in a vacuum. Start completing the gestalts that are already active in your field. Look at the unfinished business, the tensions, the things crying out for closure, however small.
Address them, give them that closure.
And watch what happens. Action flows from a clear field.
So, for everyone listening, maybe you're not lost. Maybe you're just perceptually cluttered. You're already on a road, you've been traveling it for a while. The decision isn't some point way off in the future waiting for you to reach it.
It's already here, embedded in your current reality, waiting for your perception to catch up and acknowledge it.
Which leads us to that final provocative thought. Where are you pretending to stand still when really your feet have already carried you miles past that old crossroads? What decision are you still waiting to make that deep down your soul actually completed months ago?
Complete the gestalt. See the Dalmatian. Acknowledge the road you're already on. The world might just reorganize itself around that recognition.